Privacy and anonymity. In today's digital world, these two concepts are used together and interchangeably, even though they have different meanings. Privacy is when a user keeps certain pieces of information or all of the information to themselves. For example, privacy settings in a social media account like Facebook. You can set your privacy settings so that your post can be seen by no one, everyone, friends, or even friends of friends. Anonymity is when people see what you do, but they don't know who you are. For example, posting a review for a popular restaurant without logging in, or saying who you are, posting in a forum with a different username, or having a fake Facebook account that says what you're doing but not who you are. Privacy and anonymity needed to be viewed as different concepts that work in tandem through enlightened consumers and specify of lawmaker verbiage. People are diverse, and it only makes sense that how they feel about privacy and view anonymity should be diverse as well. Many people believe that privacy should be a right. There are many examples of people fighting against government that are trying to learn too much about them or trying to dictate their choices. People feel like what they do on the internet should be private, and it should be up to them whether they share their browsing with others. Other people believe that if you're not doing anything wrong, that there's no need for privacy. Anonymity also arouses polarizing views. There are some scientifically minded people who would favor anonymity because it would help with research. They can pull large data sets of conduct research without knowing who the people are and without having to ask for volunteers. In the Bill of Rights, it would favor anonymity because it encouraged free speech. It can be more liberating to be anonymous, which is easier to say how you feel without fear of having repercussions or people disagreeing. It's easier to say how you feel without repercussions. It's a double-edged sword for other people. It can also make people feel that they can do anything without consequences. So you can perpetrate hate, commit crimes, and bully others. Among those against anonymity are those who are trying to make data less believable. The idea is you must know one's data source, its origin, before it can be taken seriously and used. The ECPA, or Electronic Communication Privacy Act, was created in 1986. It's commonly referred to as two acts, the Electronic Communications Privacy Act and the Stored Wire Electronic Communications Act. It protects wire, oral, and electronic communications while the communications are being made, they are in transit, or when they are stored on computers. It applies to all electronic, oral, and wire communications such as email, phone conversations, and electronically stored data like emails and text. The ECPA has large loopholes, though, for those trying to request this information, such as law enforcement officials. Email communication and text communications are an example. If it's stored at home and it's either unopened or open in any age, it requires a warrant, which means the law enforcement official would need probable cause. But if it's stored remotely and it hasn't been opened, and it's older than 180 days, or it has been opened and of any age, all they need is a subpoena, which does not require probable cause. It just requires a judge to sign off on it. The First Amendment also has been found to support anonymous free speech. It allows for those of the minority opinion to express those opinions without fearing repercussions or getting drowned out by criticism. Justice John Paul Stevens once said, "Anonymity is a shield from tyranny of those in the majority. It makes those who are expressing their feelings in it feel safe." Due to the First Amendment, we have freedom of speech, but some still fear speaking honestly and fearing backlash. situations like whistleblowers, as well as those not of the majority opinion. Speaking under a username, a pen name, or even under anonymous allows for that expression. This was upheld in a U.S. Supreme Court case of McIntyre v. Ohio Elections Commission in 1995. When Margaret McIntyre in 1988 had been handing out anonymous written pamphlets expressing an opposing opinion on a tax levy being voted on in a public meeting, she was fined because the pamphlets didn't say who had written them and where they were from, which was at that time an Ohio state law. By 1995, it reached the Supreme Court in appeals, and the Supreme Court voted saying that the Ohio law was unconstitutional in a 7-2 vote and agreed with Margaret McIntyre. Another case that had supported this was Doe v. To The Mart in 2001. It was the company To The Mart was trying to get the identity of 22 anonymous users that posted in a message board about the company unfavorably. And To The Mart was trying to find their identities. The court upheld that it was the user's right due to the First Amendment to have that anonymous free speech, and that the free exchange of ideas of the internet is driven by in large part of the ability of internet users to communicate anonymously. In today's world, people are still confusing privacy with anonymity, but in order to create laws that are fair, people must know how these two differ and how they work together. Consumers also must actively protect their privacy, and anonymity is an important way to help society through an aggregated data. Three questions you can ask are: where should the balance be for the right of privacy? Should the people who don't care about privacy get to make the laws that govern it? And how can we stop anonymity from perpetuating hate and bullying?